Good morning. This is the Bitcoin morning brief. Today is going to be a fun and funny one. Just mentioning my shirt. So Hyperwave, this is Tyler Jenks. And I'm kind of the generic blonde girl there waving. But anyway, so we have Tone, Giacomo, and Jimmy today. We get all of the gentlemen. So I'll start off with you.
Is that guy a zombie or something? Why is he like this, like very sick looking gray? I want to know about like that color on your shirt.
Oh,
He looks like a zombie. What's
both
going
of
on?
us. Actually,
Yeah,
both
yeah, yeah. Actually,
don't
yeah.
look
Both
like
of you
you
look
guys
like
are.
zombies.
It's sunscreen. They put a lot of sunscreen there. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually
I
kind of
like
what happens to white people when they put on sunscreen, right?
I like the
I forgot about that.
I like the Bitcoin logo in the front.
There we go. Yeah, that's actually true. Maybe we have too much zinc on, but yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah, we are pale. That's a true fact.
Yes, yes.
Jimmy, how's it going on your end? Please wear sunscreen.
Yeah, well, no, I'm actually kind of a dark Asian, not one of those light Asian people, so I don't need quite as much sunscreen. Although I do get burned if it's especially hot. So, it's kind of one of the benefits of melanin, I suppose.
And the hat probably helps.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well, actually, all you guys have hats today. Tone, but that's typical for you.
Yeah, I know. But we've really had cut down on the tone vase hair joke since I started wearing hats everywhere.
Well, I mean, we still got to do the crypto friends thing and make that going, and we can totally make jokes about that unless you want the eagle to wear a hat.
I know, but it's just what we're gonna do.
Bald eagle.
With a comb over.
It'll be fun. Don't give it away. Don't give away our characters.
It's all right. They won't remember.
It's so good, Jack.
Yeah, you're right. Our audience is more like a fish. Oh wait, I didn't say that. Are we live?
We're like everybody's getting a bit shit on this morning.
We're all ordinary, That's kind of what happens when price goes down.
All right, Giacomo, I think you're the nicest of us. Say hi, and then we'll jump on to the story.
That's debatable. And anyway, I need a lot of sunscreen. I'm like the more whitey, reddish Italian in the local genetic pool. So I need a lot of sunscreen.
Indeed.
All right. Well, Tone, look at this fun one. So True USD launched on Binance today. So officially the story title is True USD officially launches on Binance with increased supply. Crypto Vest got the story out first. Tone, I am actually showing you this chart to start with because I love that it's actually a 6-hour chart, but it's clicked as the monthly. There's a lot of fun ones in this story. I am going to then switch that there is supposed to be large demand and go straight to the charts. You're going to start with charts today. So my question is, we talked about Tether yesterday. Should we be switching to the True USD coin or wait for the Mitsubishi one that we're going to talk about later? I mean, what are you seeing?
No, I mean, this is hilarious, right? So, I mean, I don't know what happened with that spike. I mean, a lot of this stuff kind of happens. It's you really got to look at the volume there. If the first trade took place, someone bought 2 cents worth of True USD at like triple the price, right? So you paid, let's say, 10 cents for 3 cents, but then no one really cares, but it makes the chart looks ridiculous. Zcash had the same thing in the early, when Zcash launched, the first block that mined Zcash only had like 0.1 Zcash in it, right? So the first trades of Zcash normalized to 1 Zcash were like $300,000 per Zcash, right? So it was something ridiculous, but there was only like 0.2 Zcash out in circulation around the world. So, I mean, this is just silly. This goes to show you that you can't really like launch new coins. This whole initiative is so funny to me. I didn't even know this was happening until this morning when I read the story. And the first thing that popped into my head was Silicon Valley, like new internet. We are going to do it from China. We are going to do new internet. So we're going to do new and True USD. What are we going to do for the ticker? All right, so we're going to take the Tether ticker. We're going to take the T. We're going to take it from the end of the ticker. We're going to put it in the front, and we're going to call it TUSD instead of USDT, and we're going to call it True US dollar, because what is more true than a US dollar than a company out of China making a US dollar stablecoin. I mean, you can't make up the irony in this garbage. It's absolutely hilarious, right? So they launched this thing with 12 million dollar-backed tokens of this true USD token. I still don't understand. Can someone please tell me what is the point of the Binance token, right? If this was the Binance token representing the equity of Binance, where they're an exchange, they're profiting from fees, they can convert those fees into, this US dollar backed coin, so people can enter into this TUSD token when they want to hold a cash position. But the concept of it is silly, right? Where are the US dollars stored? Who is auditing the fact that there's actually US dollars? How is this thing any different than Tether, other than it is significantly smaller than Tether? So it's a significantly smaller honeypot. So it'll probably go under the radar of Tether for a little bit. But everything we don't like about Tether exists with this thing, only it's Chinese, right? I'm not saying Bitfinex is better, but when Tether started, it was an American company, I believe, so it would have been regulated, in an American way with American regulators. Who the heck? No one is regulating this thing. Again, it doesn't really make sense, right? All of this stems because the exchange wants to offer people the ability to hold US dollars without actually segregating their US dollar positions. So they're going to let them hold this TUSD token. This is going to get so confusing. I wonder what the market is going to be between USDT and TUSD. That's going to be kind of hilarious, right? People are going to be trading fake US dollar tokens back and forth with each other. Look, just offer people a goddamn token. Like, tell people, hey, here's your cash position, and no one cares. No one is going to care. I mean, if you're trading on Binance to begin with, which means you've given up the right to hold your own Bitcoin private keys. So does it really matter how the hell Binance is holding your money? Whether it's in USDT, in gold, in TUSD, in, I don't know, in Binance tokens, in gold, in whatever it is, in fake cell phones, it's really completely irrelevant, right? They can throw whatever they want on the screen, give it any ticker they like, and they'll tell you that, if it's a representation of a US dollar, why the hell is it openly traded to fluctuate in price? I mean, all of this is ridiculous. These people think they're like reinventing something that's existed for 100 years in some kind of a unique way, but they're not. It's just another scheme to be more relevant, to try and get more volume from other exchanges.
So thanks, Jimmy. Tone. So Jimmy, right, we spoke, I think it was actually during consensus, the last day of consensus, about Circle's adding another one to it, USDC, that's going to be launching this summer. Now, Circle, I do find, impressive given their massive, especially recent cash infusion and resources and credibility. So adding another one to it, but whether users are from Tether are going to move to this, I think, kind of silliness of TUSD, but just what were your thoughts on this story, and that there's some alternatives that are coming out?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about stable coins because they've gotten a lot of hype, and I'm really still trying to understand what the whole purpose of it is. A lot of people say, well, now you can have liquidity between exchanges, and the prices should be more reflective of exactly what they are. And, there's everything should be more or less stable across exchanges, and there's no kimchi premium. That's what they call the premium in Korea and things like that. But I don't really understand. Like this can be done so much
Jimmy,
more.
Is it just me, or is that like a little bit racist?
What, the kimchi premium?
Yeah.
Of course it's racist.
I don't mind. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, the thing is, like, the US dollar is highly centralized already. Why do you need a token to do all this? it seems to me if these exchanges really wanted quick, transfer back and forth, they can all just sort of settle, in say a bank of banks, which is called the central bank, right? Like they can just transfer from one exchange to another, and as long as the other exchange is good for the money, they can make all this happen, and you don't need to deal with this like additional point. You can just like take a balance from one exchange and take it to another. Of course, that requires them to be regulated and stuff, but it's the US dollar. You kind of need to be regulated already to transfer dollars. And if you're trying to come up with something that allows that sort of liquidity, you should play within the rules of the currency that you're using. So I don't really get a lot of the points of this stuff. It just seems like a regulatory landmine. On the one hand, if you are sort of creating something synthetic, the U.S. government's not going to like that, and they're probably going to punish you in some way. And on the other hand, you can you already have a system that allows you to transfer money back and forth in U.S. dollars. Using something like a central bank with a banking license makes more sense.
And you can also do that with Bitcoin. People seem to forget.
Well, I mean, this is for liquidity, right? Like so that you can go back and forth. And
well, no, I mean, you mentioned like moving from exchange to exchange.
Yeah. So I mean, you could do that if they all have an account on the same bank. And I don't know, maybe this is the idea that Coinbase is going from the story yesterday, which is they're looking for a banking license. But if you're all on the ACH system, then you owe that central bank some money, or you are owed from somebody else, and they can transfer balances back and forth pretty easily. So I don't know. It just seems like kind of a very roundabout way to do things with these stable coins, and they're raising tons and tons of money based on something that I'm not sure really works. Or I mean, I don't know, maybe it's an IT infrastructure upgrade for the ACH system, which is like from the 70s. But yeah, it just the whole idea of a stable coin is just kind of puzzling to me, because the whole point of Bitcoin is to have Bitcoin. Like I don't really get what the whole thing's about.
Right. Very interesting. Absolutely. And to your point on volatility, a lot of people think that utilizing stable coins is as a hedge against downturns. But just mentioning, which I always find funny, is that there's the Binance coin, which couldn't be more volatile. But Tone, you were explaining to me earlier.
Or useless. The Binance coin can't be more volatile or useless. Don't forget
that. Completely true. But back to you, Tone, actually, as a follow-up for Jimmy, you were telling me earlier that the TUSD you can store on your ledger as an ERC20.
Not me. Somebody pointed it out that TUSD is an ERC20 ICO style token. And before we get to Giacomo, and so I do see some use in that. I mean, you want to decentralize your dumb centralized platforms. So you don't want to bank everything on what the hell is Tether based on? Omni, right? So you don't want to have your central point of failure for all of your fake US dollar coins to be dependent on Omni. You want to decentralize the risk of centralized underbellies to Ethereum and Cardano and all the other dumb proof of stake projects that they have, right? Because this way, when the Omni layer fails and all of you and no one knows who owns USD Tether where, you want to have a backup plan with another stupid token based on another stupid platform like Ethereum, right? So that is a decent decentralization mechanism for all of your fake US dollars, right? But just think about it. Look how many centralized points of failure you have with these centralized fake stable coins. Not only is, like in the case of Tether, the Omni layer is a point of failure. Whoever is storing the actual cash underlying this token is another central point of failure, whether it's a bank or whether it's a custodian or whether it's anyone, not to mention the regulatory risk of the US government showing up and taking your underlying asset, in this case being their currency. So it's this is just totally ridiculous. Go ahead, Giacomo.
Giacomo, do you think this is also ridiculous? And, just thoughts on stable coins as generally as well?
So no, I don't completely agree with Tone and Jimmy on this. I have mixed feelings about this idea, not this implementation. I mean, this implementation in particular is really ridiculous. Like they are pulling a Roger Ver, they're calling it the true US dollar. So it's really funny. It's really ironic. But in general, the idea of a gateway Bitcoin-based token representing US dollar liability by a centralized party, I think that could be somehow interesting. It's very, very difficult to build in a legally resilient way. But the main point, I mean, of course, you cannot, as Jimmy said, the purpose of Bitcoin was twofold. One was to have censorship-resistant money, and the other was to have independently, not inflatable, independently based money. So of course, a stable coin cannot achieve the second goal. So it's manipulable by the Federal Reserve by definition, but it can achieve the first goal of a censorship-resistant money even more. If you think about eCash, the experiment of David Chaum, eCash was based on digibucks were based on banks issuing dollar or pound-based cryptographic checks. That you could pass away. So in a way, to have a dollar-based, I mean, dollar is already very widespread, very liquid, very deep as a market depth. So to piggyback that is giving away the inflation resistance, but is not giving away the censorship resistance. Of course, if something like that could work, we wouldn't need Bitcoin at all. I mean, if DigiCash, eCash worked, we would need not
right, or eGold. I mean,
or eGold as well.
They're trying to recreate eGold, which didn't work out very well.
It didn't work out, and that's why we created Bitcoin, because eGold wasn't working, because it's too easy to shut down. That said, a very specific and very localized gateway function. I mean, right now, Bitcoin exchanges are covering two sets of function. On one side, you have fiat withdrawal and fiat deposit. On the other side, you have crypto exchange, leverage, bid, ask, order book, everything. So if you can split these two activities, I think that there could be some kind of legal arbitrage that you could leverage. Like instead of having an exchange that is probably going to be regulated by market authorities, a lot of regulation on an exchange, because you are actually doing trading and leverage and everything. You just have a company which is just saying, give me your dollar, I will give you a voucher that is just an IOU of a dollar. I don't trade Bitcoin, I don't do anything. This thing could maybe used to do some kind of regulatory arbitrage. I mean, it's segregating some legal risk. So, for example, you mentioned that the Coinbase is searching for a bank account, but Tether company is looking for a bank account as well, as I know. So it's for a banking license, sorry. So there could be some kind of legal arbitrage strategy there that is not completely stupid, in my opinion. Let's see how.
I'll just add. I'll throw one last thing in there. I know we want to move on to another story, but look, if they wanted to do this, right? Look, we already seen pictures that Binance is making like $200 million a year, more money than Deutsche Bank. Well, okay, fine. You made $200 million this year. You take $100 million. Those are your profits. Those are the profits of the company. They have that. It's not a liability, right? They have that money. They earn that money legally. Fine. You can convert that to a token, backed 1-to-1, no fluctuations, right? $1, you have $200 million. Take half of that, 100 million. Boom. You create 100 million USDT tokens or TUSD tokens on Ethereum. No fluctuation, no free value. You proof of reserve that you have that 100 million. 1 year, another year goes by, make another 100 million if you continue to make money, and you have your token in circulation. Your own money is backing this token. Anyone can turn that back over to you. They can sell you back those tokens. You can give them the equivalent amount of any shitcoin or Bitcoin that trades on your exchange, And now you hold your own tokens. It's your own. It's not even a liability at that point, right? You want to create a stable token? Use your own money. Why the hell is this thing like? How are you going to say that you have a stable token that fluctuates in price? I mean, again, it's like an oxymoron. It's either worth $1 or it's not. Like even if it moves by 0.0001 cent, like it makes no sense at all.
Jimmy, do you have a last follow-up to this? And we're going to transition into the Japanese MUFG coin afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say impossible triangle and leave it there. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. So Japan's biggest bank to carry large-scale trial of cryptocurrency MUFG coin. So MUFG is actually the biggest bank in Japan, and they're going to launch this MUFG coin and do it with a trial of 100,000 of their clients. But just note, it's in 2019. But whereby these account holders can pay with the MUFG from their smartphone app. So they say in this article, which I did find funny, that it has a conversion rate of 1 MUFG coin equivalent to 1 yen, which is misleading and not true. If you read this story, they mean equivalent. So conversion rate, sorry, they mean equivalent to 1 yen. So Jimmy, I will pass back to you. Switching to this one, what do you think of their initiative?
I mean, we knew that this, people were going to try to use this idea of a cryptocurrency for good or evil. This is one step closer to some sort of a central bank issued coin. It's a central banker's wet dream. They get to track what everyone does and how much everyone has, and whether or not they're cheating on their taxes or what they're spending money on, or if they're doing anything sketchy that they don't want people to do. So, I mean, this is one step closer as far as I can tell.
Tone, now people should and will, I believe, trust the MUFG in general. I mean, they're a massive bank. It's an interesting initiative. It's far off though, but definitely it's not these other coins that we've been talking about, well, specifically for Binance and Tether. Do you think that this will make a difference, and maybe others will follow suit in maybe a more potentially innovative way, since it is far off in the future?
Well, I'm going to go slightly in a different direction than Jimmy on this one. This looks like to me like the bank wants to print their own money. And not central bank, right? Central bank. The reason why the U.S., I believe the U.S. is now on their third central bank, right? Andrew Jackson eliminated the second central bank back in the 1830s. And when Andrew Jackson eliminated that bank, go to Martin Armstrong's blog. I know it's got like infinite amount of information on there. And read about Wildcat banking of the mid-1800s. And that happened when Andrew Jackson eliminated the second central bank of the US. And one of the reasons why he did that is because he felt that the second central bank kept funding his political opponents, and why his presidency was delayed by like 10 years or something, because he kept losing the elections because of the central bank founding. So he put on a war against the central bank and eliminated it. When that central bank was eliminated, banks all over America started printing their own money. And it created a bit of a disaster known as the Wildcat banking era, when people across America had no idea what was real money and what wasn't, because every bank was printing their own bills. And there was counterfeit bills everywhere, because a person on the West Coast has no idea if some bank on the East Coast that they've never heard of has legit money or not. And it was all over the place. So,
well, Tone, when you're talking about like banks that print money, if you have a banking license, you can more or less print money. You have the ability
right, but
to
here's the
fractionally
thing,
reserve.
right? Correct, but you're printing one money, right? You're printing US dollars, and US banks print money under the fractional reserve system, but they're printing one style of money. So the Secret Service.
This looks like it's like pegged to the yen. So it sounds like they're printing the yen.
Is it really? I don't see. Is it really going to be pegged to the yen? I didn't actually read. I read this article. I didn't actually see anything there that says that it would be pegged to the yen.
Equivalent, the 1 unit MUFG coin will be equivalent to 1 yen.
Is that forever going forward? It's not going to be like freely traded for its own current for its own.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. I don't know. Maybe it's not pegged, but it does sound like it's a money that they're
All right, if it's
sort of
pegged,
getting to print.
okay,
Yeah.
so if it's going to be pegged going forward, then this is slightly different. I was under the assumption that this thing is not going to be pegged going forward, and it's going to be its own currency created by a bank, which means you are going back to that Wildcat banking where every single company is printing their own money, and it's going to be a very ridiculous environment. Now, if this digital token is going to be pegged to 1 yen, then again, it kind of doesn't make sense. Then why isn't there like a Japanese yen, not this bank? I understand it's Japan's largest bank. So unless MUFG is going to be the new representation of the Fed coin, but this thing is not decentralized. This is simply if this is going to be permanently pegged to 1 yen, then this is simply the elimination of yen bills. That's it. There is nothing more to it than that. It's a push to eliminate the bill. So in that case, I agree with you, Jimmy, 100% that this is all a better tracking of your money using digital currency instead of physical bills. But 90% of our currency is digital anyway. This has nothing to do with blockchain. This has nothing to do with anything related to decentralization. But the question is, will this token be openly traded or not? If it's not, then it just, it makes no sense why it has a bank's name on it. It should have the Japanese's name on it of the Japanese yen. That's it. And controlled by the Federal Reserve of Japan. And it's simply the elimination of cash, which is the best thing for Bitcoin ever.
Interesting. Yeah. And well, the banking arm, as it says here, of Mitsubishi, the MUFG is, the Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi UFJ. But I would agree completely to your guys' point that this article is not making it clear. And definitely, at least I hope someone researched if it is going to be pegged to the yen or what they mean by that. But Giacomo, I would love to hear your thoughts in response to what Jimmy and Tone are saying.
So again, my reasoning is a little bit nuanced about this. I'm completely okay with free banking, even a situation where banks are printing their own money in competition. I mean, as long as you don't pretend to, as long as you don't try to commit fraud. So printing something that looks like a liability by another party, which is not really willing to be involved. So as long as you don't defraud anybody. I think that every business should be free to issue whatever kind of debt it wants. Of course, a lot of competition means a lot of inefficiency. And so I think that the market eventually tends toward unification of a standard, of a monetary standard. So I think that the free market over long periods tends toward the elimination of noise in a monetary sense and towards standardification, unification, and convergence. And I think that without the intervention of the government, even in the period of the free banking of the 19th century, you would have had banks printing money failing. A natural equilibrium emerging without fraud. In this case, as the guys pointed out, is not really about creating new form of money with the different monetary behavior. It's just creating pegged IOUs again. So what I think is important to specify here is that there is no reason. This could be interesting news, the fact that a company can issue a monetary replacement, but it's not interesting from a blockchain or cryptocurrency point of view anyhow. It is a completely centralized solution. It is not used unless, unlike Tether or something like that, this is not used in order to do regulatory arbitrage. So there is really no point in using any kind of blockchain crypto-based hype. Use your MySQL and just tell everybody that you are issuing credit nominated in yen.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and thanks guys for the analysis. I think that again, I think that they're not making this entirely clear. Maybe they'll make a statement, but
Yeah, I will say that like the banks would be more than happy to eliminate the central bank once again, so they can just print their own money. I mean, people think that like the banks are very happy with the Fed. Well, they'd rather print their own money and not depend on the Fed. So
in that sense, ICOs are the new banks, then, aren't they?
yeah.
So I would like to public state that when there will be the fight between central banks and commercial banks, I will finally take the side of commercial banks.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. I bet the boys would have a lot to say about that actually. Before moving on though, but yeah, and in light of the Bank of England releasing their paper today, especially in regards to having country coins. So yeah, I mean, this will be an interesting developing story. Again, it's interesting how far off they're putting this. So I guess we'll see, gentlemen, if it's okay that we move on to the United States. Well, and Canada, sorry, Canada out there. So the securities regulators really, I'm going to tie two of these stories together, WAPO and also what Cointelegraph is reporting. So they, yesterday, they announced that dozens of investigations were announced, potentially into deceitful crypto investment products. Absolutely. The largest coordinated crackdown to date is what they're saying by state and provincial officials. And this was called Operation Crypto Sweep. So they said that 70 investigations have been opened. Got it. So I gotta be honest, I'm a little conflicted on this one, to be fully honest. I'm excited about what they're doing, but it did sadden me actually that there's still so much confusion in this space. I'm gonna pull up WAPO for a second, which is Washington Post, which is just that like they're saying it's on Bitcoin scams. So for an example, this is an amazing newspaper. It's Washington Post, and even they're getting these wrongs. It's ICOs that they're looking into and that they gave the cease and desist to. So I'm sure he's a great reporter. You know, there's confusion. And also I will say, like, the nuances of an association in the United States, as Jimmy and Tone know, and probably Giacomo, because Giacomo's a genius, it's very confusing actually. And even this one, which apparently has been around for 100 years, I've never heard of it before. So associations can be like quasi regulators, which is what it sounds like here. And they can be powerful. But to say, if you're ever confused, they don't have a .gov. So they're really not an agency or regulator or anything. They just can kind of help regulators. So I do think, last statement, thanks for indulging me guys, is that it's an interesting twist that they're spearheading it, that it's regional, it includes Canada and the United States. So I see it as a step up from the states doing it, but a step down from the feds doing it. But I do think, positive, that it's a good example of resistance against cryptos, you know, getting more powerful. So after that, T-Rod, thank you. Jimmy, what were your thoughts on this article and what they're up to?
Yeah, I honestly, I'm lost because I don't know that much about regulators and like these like you said, quasi-regulator things. It's not clear to me what authority they have and what sort of punishment or enforcement actions they're allowed to make. So it's hard for me to like comment on this story because I don't know if this article says anything.
Right, exactly. Tone, what did you think when you read this?
Sure. Well, the regulators continue to go after the very, very low-hanging fruit and just delaying the real elephant in the room. Basically, they continue to look for, you know, crazy, outrageous stuff. And in a way, I'm surprised, you know, all of these Ponzi schemes are coming out now. So they're still focusing on things that are more obvious scams than BitConnect, right? Like they dropped the ball on BitConnect. They waited until BitConnect was, you know, billions of dollars. And now they're going after BitConnect style with even that aren't even as big, right? So you put you put like fake celebrity endorsements, you know, put stock pictures like, hey, we are running a Bitcoin mine, you know, we're a cloud miner, here are pictures of our mine, when in fact, those are just pictures from the internet, right? So they continue to go after people that are like straight up lying. and they continue to drag their feet on the elephant in the room. Like, is Ethereum a security? What about all of these other ICOs that raised $100 million and they have an office with 40 employees, somewhere in San Francisco, right? Or somewhere in New York, right? Or like, hey, we're a consulting company for ICOs and we have 200 employees and a bunch of college interns. Consensus. Like, they continue to drag their feet on a lot of this stuff that actually is borderline, and that's the big stuff. I mean, all the things mentioned in these articles that they're actually looking to crack down on, that stuff's obvious. No one is going to complain about that. No one is going to give you a controversy about that. I mean, those are outright scams, but they're not. I mean, I want to know, is Ethereum a security or not, and then talk about that. So articles like this, they don't do anything for me.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll definitely see on that soon. Definitely public statements continually coming out that hopefully regulators will start to take the charge on this. But definitely this is an association. So, I don't know their real power, actually. Giacomo, if you don't have any last comments, I would love to hear your opinion on this next story. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, cool. So, and I saw this all around the Twitter sphere, so of course I had to throw this one up. So a bank in Argentina is now using Bitcoin for cross-border payments. I did find this pretty cool. So pretty much, if I understood it correctly, if you have an international transaction, instead of using SWIFT, which costs money and time, right? Through this bank called Más Ventas, you can use Bitex, whereby you can send cross-border payments using Bitcoin through the exchange. So quickly, I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian, which is that I don't know if this regional bank is substantial, and I didn't know much about Bitex, even though they've, I guess, been around since 2014. However, it could still prove the point, be great for Bitcoin and as a successful use case. I mean, Giacomo, what did you think about the story?
So I'm sorry to be always contrarian as well, but I mean, I always bash banks because they are using stupid altcoins instead of Bitcoin. And when they're finally using Bitcoin, I'm still skeptical. But I don't really get what exactly are they accomplishing using Bitcoin here. I mean, if you have one branch of the bank in the country A, one branch of the bank in the country B, and you have established branches, you can just use emails between the banks and then settling out if they are internal branches. If you have different banks that are tied by business relationship, you still can pass any kind of payment without using SWIFT at all. You need SWIFT only when you have to coordinate different banks that cannot talk directly. So when you are in that situation, Bitcoin is not really a solution because you will need all the different banks to actually agree to coordinate in order to accept Bitcoin altogether. I mean, if Bitcoin was already widespread and accepted, then it will make sense to use it not just as a store of value, but also as a settlement layer between banks. But one bank cannot usefully use Bitcoin as settlement unless all the other banks are also doing that. What I would say is that Argentinian people could just use Bitcoin in order to send payments internationally, just doing without any kind of help by the bank. So Bitcoin is great to disintermediate banks entirely. You just need a Bitcoin wallet and another Bitcoin wallet, and that's more than okay.
Yeah, very interesting. Tone, what are your thoughts on
Sure.
what Giacomo just said?
Okay, so I mean, I agree with Giacomo. I will just say that, look, if this bank, let's say, doesn't have, it's still, I'm trying to find a way where this will make sense, right? So let's say this bank doesn't have, a good relationship with banks in other countries, but they have a good relationship with some kind of a Bitcoin exchange or a Bitcoin middleman that has relationships with banks, I guess, around the world, which also may or may not exist. And then you're like, hey, I got to send, $20,000 to country X. and then you call up your friends at the exchange and say, hey, we have a relationship with you. We'll send you $20,000. And then, hey, you pulled out $20,000 on the other end. And I guess the Bitcoin company takes on the liability while the money is being moved, but they're probably not even really using Bitcoin. Like, none of this makes any sense at all. Why do you want to add a volatile currency in the middle of your currency to currency transaction? Like Bitcoin remittance has always been one of the dumbest things anyone tried to create as a company. And I don't think anyone is ever going to succeed until the word remittance has been eliminated from the dictionary, because people are sending each other Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I'm gonna keep us moving a little bit today. Again, I wonder how much this has to do with the macroeconomics of Argentina. Just again, coming from the World Bank, I mean, they're actually one of the few countries that actually had to default on their national debt. Inflation is running rampant again, and they're having issues again. So it's an interesting use case potentially. I do agree with you, Giacomo, a lot, and also you, Tone, regarding the bank. And also, I'd be very curious for anyone in the live chat if you could teach me about the bank and the exchange. I've never really heard if they're powerful or not, but it could also be an attempt to somehow skirt PR-wise or something. What's going on? But
if the banks really want to lower the cost of remittance, sending stuff from one country to another, just offer Bitcoin withdrawals. Just someone from one country says, I need to send $2,000 to person X in country Y, and then person X gets a notification from the bank saying, you can come and withdraw the cash, we can put money in your bank account, or we can just transfer Bitcoin to a wallet.
That's exactly right. If you skip at least one of the miles, you gain some friction relief. Otherwise, you don't. If you do banking, Bitcoin banking, you are not gaining anything. But if you do banking Bitcoin or Bitcoin banking, that makes more sense.
All right. Yes, thank you guys so much. I'm curious about the weather report. One last comment that we didn't mention in the Japanese story about the MUFG is that they have this two-way ATM machine that they are trying to do. Just on that comment about ATM, that goes onto the smartphone or exchange, and then you convert to fiat. We'll find out.
Such a waste of time. You already have ATM machines with dollars and yen. Just put more digital stuff in your bank account. What are you going to withdraw from your ATM? Another digital. All
right. Well, you don't want to visit an ATM if it's raining. So, Jimmy, what's going on with the weather report?
It looks like there's a lot of stuff coming since around 8 a.m. as usual. There's a tremendous number of transactions at the moment. So right now you're going to need to do 20 to 40 Satoshi per byte to get it in on the next block, but it should be coming down as the afternoon moves on. I still think you can get in between 0 and 2 Satoshi per byte somewhere, and wait a few hours and you'll get it in. So nothing really new. It's been very similar for the past few months, and yeah, that's about it for the weather report. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to go, and I apologize for having to do that, but this song is done. Tone, over to you.
Bye, Jimmy. Thanks. Actually, Giacomo, I have one last one for you, but Jimmy, have a great day. It's National Pizza Day. What is this tweet about?
Yeah. Actually, I was immediately so there is this thing, in Bitcoin there is crypto carnivorism. So there are people uniting Bitcoin maximalism with carnivore diet, but the pizza day is based on carbs, and that's a problem for crypto carnivorism. Unless the fact that Mike Gosten if you search for Mike Gosten tweet, he basically explained that. Basically, we are not celebrating Laszlo, the man who spent 10,000 Bitcoin to buy pizza, but we are celebrating the guy that acquired 10,000 Bitcoins in order to give pizzas to Laszlo. So we are acquiring the the pizza selling day, not the pizza buying day. So that's very maximalist.
Yeah, it really feels like the $10,000 pizza celebration happens like every month somewhere. I never know what day it is because it happens way more than once a year.
It's today. It's just people is tricking you in order to eat more pizza, but it's today.
Hey, Giacomo, we got some questions about Italy from a very what do you call
Speaking
it?
of pizza,
Very active tipper Dan. So Leah, you want to ask Giacomo real quick couple of questions?
absolutely.
So I think that fettuccine alfredo is actually something created in Little Italy, New York. So something that no Italian is really an expert on. And I think that vodka rigatoni is probably the work of some Italian immigrant in Russia, I would say. So I know nothing about this too, but maybe about the previous question.
I'll read it to you. Very good
Any
one.
recommendation?
Yeah.
So this guy has a grandmother from Italy, and so I will do a food-based Ask Me Anything session in the Tone channel, so I can give you a more relaxed recommendation that I cannot give right now.
All right, well,
Tone.
we got you. Yeah.
Nice.
So Michael Goldstein, Bits Time. I saw your document on the paleo/carnivore diet.
I was gonna ask about
How
that.
much time did you spend putting that document together? My God. Now, I followed that diet myself. I just started once again. Like when I'm not exercising, my diet goes out the window. When I start exercising, I'm back on paleo. I'm back on the carnivore diet. I saw your document, like, Jesus, it's longer than reading all that is like reading 20 Safedin books. So I don't know if I'll ever get to it, but good job, man. Great tweet. I should probably retweet it. But yeah, thanks for the manifesto of how to eat paleo. All right, let's do some Bitcoin charting. Oh, my website. Updated my website a little bit. You guys approve? Got some better pictures.
Nice.
Yeah, tonebase.com is coming together.
The Bitcoin watches and all them.
I know. You know, I had a few pictures done. So there you go. So scammers, be aware. There you go. You can pull these pictures right off my site. Just a heads up. Eventually the Learn Trading will also be migrated over. I gotta start making videos for Bitcoin Live. That's gonna launch in 13 days now. That's gonna be educational videos coming up. This is not gonna be a free site. Those of you that were expecting it. And here's the Bitcoin chart. I cleaned it up a little bit. You only see the current number. We are on a red 2 on a weekly chart. This continues to look like 2014. I don't know how many weeks in a row I've been saying this. Looking even at the RSI, you see how the RSI is not even close to crossing, and it's starting to get spread out again. If I go back to the 2014 days, you will see how back in 2014, around this time, around June, the RSI actually crossed. So, and if you look at if we go back to the June-July period, the RSI, sorry, that was the MACD. The RSI in April went all the way to 60 before going down to 30 twice. If I look at it in current view, we did not even go back up to 60. And we're nowhere near oversold. So I continue to be of the belief that the current price action in Bitcoin at current stage is even weaker than it was back in May-June period of 2014. I've seen nothing that would make me believe that we are in a better position today than we were at this exact time 4 years ago. And you can see how it all ended back then when the price eventually turned in July. in July, it was about $630, and it went down to about 150. So 150, that's it's two. That's about about 650. So it went down 66% to take you down to 150. That still scares me. I don't know about you guys. So adjust your trading accordingly. The weekly chart is not looking very strong. Anything can happen, but statistically, we can bounce around between 10,000 and 8,000 and 7,000 for a few more weeks. But once these moving averages roll over, it may not be pretty the rest of the summer into a year end. We'll go back up. It's okay. We'll all survive. This trend line continues to be somewhat useful. And I'm actually going to pull up a tweet. I just saw a tweet from somebody. Again, I was going to tweet out. I should probably change this to a non-log chart. No, that doesn't help either. Let me see if I can play around with my daily trend lines a little. This becomes a little bit trickier, right? Because yeah, that's not really great. I like having my 3 points. So if I go to a non-log chart, can I do something with this? And I don't know. I gotta no. I don't necessarily see anything I can use in order to help me here. But I do have this trend line along the bottom. I gotta double check my points. Maybe that was a trend line drawn off of a linear chart, and it looks like it was. So based on a linear chart, we're still off the trend line. These trend lines are weird. I'm not even sure I want to keep them. But in any case, this is not looking very pretty. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do here. Once we go below this red line, like I can extend this arrow. I can, take this arrow. I can duplicate this arrow. I don't know when we're going to go below this line, but when we do, it's not going to be very pretty. There'll be probably a lot of panic. And in a minute, I'm going to pull up another chart from another, crypto trader that I believe knows what he's doing. There's not that many of them I will ever give credit to, but you'll see a tweet in a second. And there we go. We went back below this red line. We're about to get another def cross over on the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart's been fairly well. People keep telling me about a 3-day chart. I haven't really looked at a 3-day chart in a long time. I don't know what we will get when we get it. Oh, wow. The 3-day chart had a 9. No wonder people have been liking, and a 9 down here and a 9 down there. So no wonder people have been tweeting me the and commenting about the 3-day chart, whether it's in the Telegram groups that I'm in or whatever that use this indicator. And we're now on a 5 of 9. And this is the kind of 5 that you want to see in order to get to a 9. Now, this is going to be a little interesting because the MACD is actually showing you really good strength here, right? So even though the MACD has crossed to the downside, you see how much higher the MACD is from the prior lows. So it will be very difficult for the MACD to get all the way down, though possible. Let's see what happens if we get a higher low. There's still a chance that if you get a higher low with volume going up against the prior high of 10,000, that we could be out of the bear market. This is an unlikely scenario, but still possible. Let's see. So I will be perhaps keeping an eye on a 3-day chart more often, as it has done a decent job, actually, of timing some of these turns. Let's go back to the 12-hour so I don't get confused. There you go. This is the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart is at a 9. So look for a 1 to 4 candle correction and then probably down. So you continue to have some divergence, but a lot of these indicators are starting to roll over, right? They are still going up. So you had a nice reversal candle here off the 8. You are now on a 9 on the 4-hour. The 4 hour is another very popular chart with these indicators. Let's see if you can get one more push of a 1 to 4 candle correction, maybe back to 8,300. But once the bottom goes out, once 82, 8,100 gets broken to the downside, again, things are not going to be pretty. Going back to the daily chart, we continue to make, ever since here, this is a lower low. But the longer we hang around 8,000, the longer we hang around this red line of 8,000, the more dangerous it becomes for the bottom to break. Now, once 8,000 breaks, there is no support, none, between here and 6,500. And if we get back to 6,500, that's now going to be a triple bottom. I don't know in what universe people are going to think that a triple bottom can hold can take the price back to new all-time highs, but I don't think I have ever seen that in my life. So good luck finding some long-term daily charts where you've had a triple bottom in 1 year with daily candles, and it led to something good over the rest of the year. So I'm not expecting that at all. So it's not going to be very pretty, guys. Here is the 1 hour chart. We are now below the cloud. You're below everything. We didn't get to a 9 for a reversal. Kind of came out of nowhere. I look for a red 2 below a red 1. Look for the break of the setup trend line. And again, all charts are pointing to bad things happening with below or in the vicinity of 8,000. That's pretty much it, other than I'll glance at gold. The weekly chart is holding it up. I'll glance at the stock market. Not much is happening. I will wait. The moment I see the stock market, whether NASDAQ or S&P, this is the NASDAQ, this is the S&P. So I would want the S&P to go above 27. Let's do 27.75. So S&P above 27.75 and NASDAQ above 74, maybe 7,500. Once these get there, I'll be very comfortable moving my entire retirement account back into the stock market. And here's the tweet that I happened to see this morning. Oh, wait, it's on a different. I just happened to open it up, and because I was on my homepage, and I happened to see Willy Woo's tweet. Now, Willy Woo is someone that I follow. I don't really follow. I haven't seen a tweet from him in months. Like I follow because I think that he knows what he's doing. And this is what he wrote, that he says, pretty sure 8,000 support on BTC USD is going to fail. Next support low 7,000, though that could fail too. Then I'm expecting another dead kitten taking us into July-September period when Bitcoin unwinds completely from a mania phase and is ready for an accumulation phase. I agree with that. Okay, so that's how he kind of drew his line. He's creating this giant symmetric triangle, and it would be nasty if this thing breaks to the downside. Look at the volume at price. I mean, that's this is kind of scary, right? Because look at how much of volume has accumulated in the current vicinity of 8,150. That is very scary to me. The second highest is right here in the vicinity of 73, 7,200. So here's what this tells me. This tells me that once the price goes below this volume at 8,100, all the people that accumulated during this period, they're all going to start to panic, and they're going to drive the selling. They will drive the selling back to this area of 73, 7,400, where it can once again consolidate until this becomes a pretty damn big volume at price spike, where then these people will panic. And it looks like right here, see this area of very low accumulation, perhaps the $4,900 area, this area with very low volume at these prices, that can serve as a major catalyst because in this area, there aren't too many people holding a bag of Bitcoin that are going to panic. On the flip side, if this area does not bounce the price with huge volume, now we are approaching the $4,000 area. And that's why when I sent out that tweet, if I go to my profile, am I boring you guys? Leah, would you like to be on the main screen? Because we can't hear you laughing. You're not on mute.
Giacomo's making me laugh. But I will say, I don't like the dead kitten. No, really, no, I don't like that at all. It was really sad. It was really sad. You know what's also sad, Tone? First of all, Bitcoin's price is falling. But what about falling in love? Are you ready? How do you know if you're in love?
Well, no, we're not doing this again.
Steal a piece of your heart, pizza.
You already got me in trouble with the female community once.
No, that's a really good one. You should say that to them. It's pizza day.
All right. So here's my tweet that I sent out, right? Notice how I gave up the highest probability of 1300. We're not going to talk about that one at the moment, right? But my others are 4975, and but then I have 3,000, the area of 3,000, and there's a reason why the $4,000 area is not listed as a relevant point. Oh, I should not have taken away the chart of Willy Woo. That would have been actually helpful. Let me go back there. Hold on. Is the back button going to help me here? No, it's not. I gotta find it. Hope he sent this out like recently. Yeah, there it is. Right. So this is why the $4,000 area is not is more of a risk than is more of a risk than a blessing, right? You want this thing to bounce where this thing is really, really low. That means there aren't too many people that are gonna dump if we get into this area. But if we drop below 4,000, all of these people might panic. And this is where things can get ugly, taking us down into that area. Look at the $3,000 area. Look how little volume is in that area, okay? This is what you want. This is where you kind of want this thing to bounce, okay? Because it scares me that all these people are going to panic, right? So at least that's how I treat this chart. This may not be very conventional way of using volume at price, which is why I don't use it all that often, but that's kind of how I use it. All right, I guess I'll leave it at that. That's all I really have to say.
Wait, sorry, I'm looking at pizza jokes. Okay, I'll stop. It's Giacomo's fault on the pizza day. All right, well, at least I got Tone laughing. Okay, everybody, have a great day. This is a Bitcoin morning brief. I hope you get a slice of pizza. I am getting Hawaiian style in the United States, which is blasphemy in Italy. I know that. Last question, Tone, what kind of pizza are you getting? I bet you're not eating pizza.
If someone can order me a almond flour dough pizza without cheese, with a bunch of meat and some pineapple would be cool. But mostly meat. You can pick your favorite animals, preferably not kittens, and you can put it on top of the pizza. That would totally work for me.
Okay, fine. Then I have to end with one last pizza joke because that was terrible. What type of person doesn't love pizza besides Tone? Weirdo. Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, I'm done. Giacomo, how are you?
Yeah. What Tone asked for is probably legal in Italy, so we will just go with the margherita, and that's okay.
You mean illegal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm an anarchist, but not so much anarchist.
Yeah, between the pizza and my coffee orders in Italy, I'm surprised they'll let me back into that country.
Yeah. For some things, I'm a statist. That you should be forbidden from doing that.
Oh boy! All right, cutting you guys off. Everybody have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.